So for After Happily Ever, I went right to the source material. I read the fairy tales. And these are fairy tales I'm very familiar with. I've heard them told and retold in a lot of different ways. And I've watched movies that have told and retold these stories in a lot of ways. But I felt it was really important to get back to at least the source of, I'm not a fairy tale folklorist. I'm sure that there are probably previous versions of Cinderella and Snow White and Sleeping Beauty, but the ones that I went back to because I was familiar with them as a child was Grimm. And I went to the Brothers Grimm and I looked at Snow White and I looked at Cinderella. No, I'm sorry, Snow White and Sleeping Beauty. For Cinderella, I had to go to Charles Perrault for source material because the Grimm Cinderella is not quite the story that we know. It's a little bit unrecognizable. The other story is the one with the glass slipper and the Cinderella and going to the ball, etc. I really wanted to honor the source material. These are stories that don't need to be changed necessarily. Retelling is fun, but the stories that already exist, I think I want to honor because they're the stories that they've lasted this long for a reason, I think. And people have loved them for this long for a reason. And people continue to retell them for this long for a reason. And so my idea was to set these princesses in the future. So we understand what their childhoods were, but those childhoods are pretty traumatic. You know, you have your stepmother trying to off you, and you have your, other stepmother basically turning you into a household servant. And then you have, this other princess who was under a 100-year sleep curse. So, these are things that if these were to happen today, we would be people that were very heavily in therapy. So I really wanted to bring these characters into a modern day perspective, even though that they're still in a fairy tale world in this book.